Space, the final frontier. Well, okay, not really. All right, take two. Here in the Mitten State, welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek, spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
Back again in the Thunderdome. Wait, wrong show. Okay, we're not in the Thunderdome. But this is the Code 47 podcast on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. I am your humble servant, Charlie Carden, Trek Lord of West Michigan, here as always with my esteemed colleagues, Peter. Hello.
Hey, everybody.
And the extra special commentator, couldn't get rid of her if we tried. That would be Katie Quinn. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. All right. Big week. Big couple weeks for Star Trek. We're going to jump right into it. It's so action-packed. There were a couple of fuzzy news stories. I thought, we could talk about that. But you know what? No. We're going for the jugular, which is exactly what happened in episode 9. Talk about some... All right. Who wants to do the honors on episode 9? Whoever talks first.
I'll do it. So,
you're killing me. Go for it, Peter.
Episode 9. All those who wander. The Enterprise crew comes face to face with their demons and scary monsters when their landing party is stranded on a barren planet while rescuing a ship, I might add.
Oh, yes. It's just not for kicks. Just for kicks, yeah. Right. Oh, Peter... I know with both of these episodes that you were on the downturn. You had some criticisms. You're already speaking. Go for it. What were you feeling about episode 9?
Yeah. So I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I didn't really like this episode. One, as you can see by my uniform, my boy Hammer.
It was a red shirt shooting gallery.
It just I was not happy with that. Hammer was my favorite character, and he died.
Now I will tell you that I've subsequently read that he'll be back.
The actor will be back. Hammer might be back in flashbacks, maybe. But the character's gone. I did read because I saw something about him on an interview. I was like, "Oh, are they bringing back Hammer? They're bringing my boy." Nope.
Now, my question would be, did you not like it because you liked the character, or did you not like it because you felt like it didn't fit within Hammer's narrative?
A bit of both.
Okay.
So one, I just like the character. I like that he is a grumpy ass Enar, and
totally agree. Also, the actor is 90% blind.
Right.
So so it's just an amazing,
right. It was just a really
choice.
Interesting casting idea. Yeah. But I think for me, like part of it was like when they did the recap and it was like, I'm here to fix what's broken. And then ultimately I'm sitting there going like, so was Uhura broken and that's what you were fixing? Cause that seems to be all you did. And I didn't really like that. That's all he was there for ultimately. I think that there should have been more.
When you say therefore, you mean in this episode or just in the context of that relationship between the two?
The context of the show. What did he ultimately fix? Aside from, being an engineer and fixing a few things, like doing engineer stuff. Like, what did he ultimately change? What did he fix in the grand scheme of things? If you go by what they did in the show, he fixed Uhura's desire for Starfleet. Mm-hmm. Which I suppose is a big deal, but it didn't feel like it had enough oomph for him, if that makes sense.
Do you think, would you liken it to, comparatively end of the first season, we lost Tasha Yar at approximately the same period. It was a few episodes before the end of that season. But what did that character really bring to the table? Do you
Tasha
feel
didn't bring much of anything, unfortunately.
Right, exactly. Which is in a lot of ways, maybe in the first season of any show, your ancillary characters really can't because they don't have much of a backstory or whatever it is. But, Katie.
I would say I knew Hammer was... I loved Hammer. He was an amazing character. I knew he was not going to make it through this season as soon as he was introduced.
He
was introduced the first time you're really seeing him is when he's talking to Uhura, and she is already showing those inklings of, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And he's shown as kind of the foil to that. So I knew her entire arc was going to be him showing her like, yes, you do belong. You are here. And that, like, especially as soon as they had that episode with the Serene Squall where she was and him were trapped.
Yeah. Oh, in the cargo bay deal?
Yeah, in the cargo bay. I was like, oh, yeah, no, he's like, I'm surprised he made it through that episode. I thought he was going to die then.
So did I, actually.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't give it any thought. So you guys are, as usual, light years ahead of me. So you think it was, and I'm here to fix what's broken. That was kind of your buddy, your buddy cop.
I mean, I saw him.
Felt.
He was there, and he was written into the story as a narrative arc to help Uhura find her place. Gotcha. And so I think once he did that, then he was okay. There is no reason for him to be there because she has now finished that narrative arc. As much as I hated to see him leave, because I think they did a great job on building him up, unlike they did with Tasha, where she was just kind of there to exist and there wasn't really much to her. Part of the reason why there was so much, kind of sadness and anger in results of him dying like he did is because he was a beloved character and they did a really great job writing him, even though he was only there to really be a plot point for Uhura.
Right, he was a stepping stone kind of along the way of one of the more established characters. But as we've got, even in the 10 episodes of this show, we've gotten more fleshing out of her character. We got her entire origin story, where in TOS, we never got her first name. That was not even canonical at all until the show, because it was introduced in JJ's movies, which are not canonical to the Prime universe. Yeah. Unless I'm very much mistaken. Somebody jump in and tell me if her first
I'm not going to know it's canon. That's going to be all Peter.
I don't know if her first name is Nyota ever got thrown out.
Yeah, it wasn't really canon until it came up in the JJ movies. Now, because of how the JJ movies worked, it was retroactively canon because that part of her timeline didn't shift. But
oh my God, those damn movies. Oh, like I said, the three of us a little further on down the road, we're going to get our chance to talk about those films. And okay, anyway. All right, let's touch on real briefly the action pieces of it. Were the allegories to the Aliens movie, did that bother you? Did that not bother you? Because it was, in a lot of ways, kind of paint by numbers with, the dirty little girl and the aliens popping out of the chest and the dark and the this and the that. And it didn't bother me a lick. I loved it. Gorn is scary as shit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peter says, yeah.
Peter, you can take
Please,
this.
It's okay.
I didn't really like that. As much as I really like it when Star Trek pulls from bigger things or other things, and you're like, I recognize that. And like, they make
I got that reference.
And they make it fun. Like, there's a couple, I don't remember. There's a few episodes where it's like, hey, that's this story. Even episode 6 in this show is actually pulled from a book.
Oh, really?
Almost like entirely. It's pulled from a book. So like, I don't mind when they do that, but there were just things from Aliens that just got thrown in there that I'm like, why are you doing that?
It made you all philosopher. Why?
Yeah. So like especially the kid, like she did, aside from like the moment where she just like shock value of, oh no, it's like, why?
It's a kid. Here? It's a kid
like,
in danger.
It wasn't that relationship with like Ripley or anything in the original that like made her purpose there good.
Right.
Well, I thought her purpose there was to help La'an, because that was kind of a reclaiming of La'an's story of not being able to save her brother and having to go through the Gorn and knowing what was going to happen and kind of helping humanize La'an's, trauma of being that age and having to survive all of that stuff, which is why she ultimately leaves at the end of that episode, because she's like, I need to see this through. And she has family and I can't have her just struggling through life and just being let loose like La'an was. She's like, I need to be able to see her through.
Okay. And sending her off, and again, a lot of the theme of these last couple of episodes were the crews kind of going their own separate ways, which is, it's a natural storytelling driver that happens in a lot of season finales, particularly in Star Trek. We see the end of Season 6 of DS9, Jadzia Dax dies. Cisco goes back home on an emotional journey, and so it's and then to see how it all comes back together. I mean, it happens in shows everywhere. It happens in sitcoms. It's so and so left a letter that he quit, and then the summer goes by, and is Ron Swanson coming back to his job in Parks and Rec? I mean, it's just whatever. You know what I mean? So it's again. Uhura is back at the academy. We don't know if she's back at the academy because she has a couple. We don't know how far along she was. Or I don't know if looking at that cadet badge, it says what rank a cadet was.
I think she was a 4th year based on the things.
Right. So she could turn around and be back mid-season, because she graduated and they're like, we got to have you back. But anyway, all right, let's move on for sake of, and certainly we can touch back on this episode once we get to our big wrap up. So the season finale, Katie, it's all yours.
All right. In the season 1 finale, just as Captain Pike thinks he has figured out how to escape his fate, he is visited by his future self, who shows him the consequences of his actions.
The ghost of future Monster Maroons. Now, Peter and I are uniform nitpickers. The Monster Maroon is what a lot of Star Trek cosplayers consider to be the brass ring, the hard to get. I mean, there's a uniform with so many bits and bobs and different stuff that getting it right is a near impossibility. Getting it wrong is really easy and ugly, because I've seen plenty of those photographed and whatever it is. And I know I'm really focusing on the minutia here, but yeah, no, Pike is seeing himself 20 years in the future. I would just guesstimate just by knowing when that uniform came around. And they did take the Monster Maroon. And for the uninitiated, the Monster Maroon is the TOS film era uniform, the red jacket with the strap across and stuff. And it's just very slick. And most truckers that I talk to are just, that sounded like truckers. Most truckers are not talking about Trek. Most Star Trek fans that I talk to who are costumers are wild about that one. So anyway, I'm focusing on minutia. Peter, I did read your big long post about this one, and I want, and again, I know we're 0 for 2 for you this one, but I want to give you equal time. So feel free, please.
To be fair, I did watch this episode again, and I don't hate it. Okay.
Okay, good. So we graduated from like a 4.8 to like a 6.1, out of 10. Okay, there we go. I like those numbers. Those are good numbers.
Yeah. At least with the uniform, I really didn't like how it got redone.
The only thing I think that's super weird about it,
I didn't
Katie,
like this.
Yeah,
I didn't like this. Was kind of the big thing where they added the microprint on the shoulders. It looked really wonky because I've seen that uniform so many times.
Yeah, my big rub was for no reason and again, Katie, I'm sure you're like, oh god, listen to these nerds talk about uniform.
No, you're good. You're good.
The uniform flap is supposed to be
straight across.
I'm looking at, I had an artist named JJ Wind out of Indonesia who did a beautiful illustration of April and myself. I'm looking right at it because it's in the foyer of my house. I'm sitting at my dining room table. The jacket comes straight across and the clasp sits really at the collarbone.
And it's nice and short.
Now it goes all the way down, and the strap is like maybe a third longer than it was and I just don't understand why. But I digress. Let's talk. Let's
counterpoint.
Please.
I know the counterpoint. I'm just saying I didn't like it.
No, it is an alternate timeline, and they've been at war now for several, maybe 20 years.
And a counterpoint to your counterpoint. Look at the Trek episode yesterday's Enterprise, where Tasha Yar is alive in this alternate timeline because there'd been a war with the Klingons. Mm-hmm. Also different uniforms, TOS, but instead of having the V-neck collar, it's a rounded collar. So wartime equal fashion changes. Just found a name for the episode.
Yes, I will, argue as someone who has an art degree and has studied some art history, war definitely and conflict definitely changes how art is perceived and developed. So I could easily see how that strapping would, might stay there because they're going for a more utilitarian look. They're going for a more structured look because, and also they just don't have the creative time and energy to really put into refashioning all of these new uniforms.
Right, just slap it together and something's going to end up being different. So a different guy, if it was supposed to be Joe Smith, who was the designer, and he got, killed because the ship he was on got blown up, then his brother Jack Smith is the designer, and he likes longer flaps. But anyway,
exactly.
let's talk about the episode. So this episode was your Ghost, it was your Scrooged, it was your, the pulling on the tapestry, it was the road not taken. Pike jumps out there and he says, in this mission, he ends up meeting a starbase commander whose son is one of the kids that he knows from his experience back in Discovery Season 2 on the Klingon planet Monastery Borith, when he sees his future that he saves this group of cadets, and this kid is one of those cadets. So he's sitting around having these misgivings. He's going to write a letter to this kid, say, don't join Starfleet. He's going to write a letter to all the kids. He's going to prevent it because he just can't live with it. And that's when, the Ghost of Christmas Future shows up and starts telling him, well, hey, I brought another crystal with me. I mean, was the whole thing real? Was he dreaming? I don't know. I mean, it just seems kind of unlikely where the dude came from. But yeah, he shows up.
That was one weird thing in the episode for me.
He was like, but I mean, it's Star Trek. It's going to be wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Well, he was sent from the Klingons from the
future. That was
from the temple.
Yeah. Oh, you see,
from that same temple, because he said something about how you're sounding like the Klingons from that such and such temple. From Borath. And he goes, who do you think sent me?
Because he was physically there, but he was there with the box and
that. Okay, it was more the fact that he was like, they're gone. That was weird for me.
Right. So. All right. But anyway, this jumps us forward into the events of, and Katie, I don't know if because I said, watch this episode. TOS episode, The Balance of Terror, which I think is episode 9 of season 1 or thereabouts. If you find, you'll look it. But anyway, it's when it's the true face-to-face first encounter with the Romulans after 100 years of the Romulan War, which takes place after the Enterprise series, when we finally figure out that the Romulans and the Vulcans share a common heritage, and it shows that Pike's approach, as opposed to James Kirk's approach, and that was a surprise for me because there was a photo that dropped a number of months back. Oh, season 2 is going to have actor Paul Wesley as James T. Kirk, and then blammo, he's in this episode.
I knew he was going to be in it. Like
everybody knows everything but me. I mean,
I knew him to be an episode before.
Right. I knew from the clips that, because we saw that Uhura was on the ship again, but she was wearing a slightly different uniform. And, so there were little uniform tweaks even in this time period, which was 7 years forward, that illustrates that time had passing. So it was a surprise, but not a surprise. Kirk in this time period commanding another ship. La'an is actually his XO. So we see her too briefly. And then we get a voiceover of, and actually I looked it up, a video game actor who was doing Scotty's accent. So Scotty was also on the ship at that time, but we don't have Bones and we don't have Sulu on the ship. But yeah, this whole thing really portrays, by Pike handling things differently and not being as aggressive as Kirk, and then Kirk, whose ship gets destroyed, and then he's there in Pike's ear, like, you got to be more aggressive. Rah, 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 rah. You got to do this thing. You got to do that thing. Pike's like, hey, dude, fuck you. I'm going to do what I want to do. And by doing that, he precipitates a full-scale war with the Romulans, and that's why we see wartime Monster Maroon Pike back saying, and also it's, it deals a crippling blow to Spock, who is, who is all
put
but
in the beeping wheelchair.
Yeah, exactly. He does. Yeah. He does become beeping wheelchair. Exactly correct. So
I mean, they were brutal with the scene of that too.
Oh God,
like,
yes.
When they go around the corner and you see that like he's very clearly missing. I was like, both my spouse and I were like, holy crap! Like you expect to see that kind of like Star Trek's always been kind of campy with how they show violence and how they show brutality. But if there's one thing, like I feel like this season, or this show has been a lot less reticent to kind of back off on that. They're like, no, we're going to show you the horrors of this stuff.
Well, I mean, in the modern era of storytelling in general, I mean, back in the 60s, for example, I don't think that kind of thing was really allowed. It became a little bit more, commonplace in the 80s and in the 90s. You remember there was a very late, Peter, you'll remember this because you said you were watching TNG season 1, the conspiracy episode where they had those aliens that would crawl in, someone's mouth and take over their body. When they found the Mother Queen, they phasered him until he exploded, and they showed it on screen. It was really
so
gruesome.
much trouble for that.
And I think it's been banned on the BBC for like decades. I don't know if that was really, that was in 1988. So that was, really right at the beginning. So it was, I saw Spock, I was like, oh my God. Yeah, but he's in the beeping chair. And so, but even Pike knows through, communicating with his time crystal, what future Spock holds even 100 years in the future when he, in TNG times, he is responsible for leading the Romulans and the Vulcans down that reunification path, which does finally happen because we see that in the tapes that Michael Burnham is watching in the 32nd century, that eventually Spock was successful in getting the Vulcans and the Romulans together, and they're living together on their planet, which is on the Vulcan planet, which they rename. Help me out here. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Don't look at me.
Yeah. No, in Discovery, when they were living.
Hold for me. I just call it Vulcan still.
Yes. It's used to be Vulcan. So, as a send-off, and again, we're seeing our people going our different ways. And then, Una gets her comeuppance for essentially what Dr. Bashir got away with in the season 6 episode, Dr. Bashir, I presume, where his genetic tampering that his parents did on him when he was a kid was revealed. So she, Pike's would-be girlfriend shows up and she's like, oh, this is super awkward, but I got to arrest her. And they take her away. And she's like, Chris, don't. I knew this was going to happen. She says I'm guilty and she's accepting her fate. But that's right where we're going to go when the show picks up again. And obviously, I'm sure she's going to be exonerated. We're not going to lose her as a character. But and they let Bashir off the hook, right? So maybe they let Bashir off the hook because she goes through a trial and there's some precedent set with the Starfleet law that what she did was okay. I don't know. I'm curious. I'm certainly curious. We'll see season 2 of Strange New Worlds. My gut tells me same time next year. So probably May of 2023. Probably. The way that they roll through things. So any final thoughts on this episode in particular before we roll on to the big wrap up?
I really enjoyed it. Honestly, and granted, I watched this one first before I watched Balance of Terror, and I thought they did a really good job of kind of streamlining some of the bumps that were in Balance of Terror, because they introduced the idea of the outposts a lot earlier, and that became more streamlined. I thought the conversations between Pike and the Romulan captain made it a lot more interesting and a lot more impactful when he finally gives his final speech of this is duty and this is what I'm supposed to do, and I think in a future time we could have been friends. Where when he's saying it to Kirk, I'm like, you literally know nothing about this guy except for his command tactics, which is cool, but it's a little weird for you to be coming on being like, I think we could have been friends if we hadn't been trying to blow each other up.
Yes.
I get where it was coming from.
A submarine movie. That's what it's based on. So it's a story of a story. So it's already copied over. So
this is a story of a story of a story. This is like a really bad Xerox.
But you can still write it in a way where it doesn't seem super choppy,
I suppose.
I would say that I think that they did a better job writing that in the
Quality of Mercy.
Yeah, the Quality of Mercy versus in A Balance of Terror. That's what I'm saying as far as that goes.
I can see that too.
Yeah.
For sure. Peter, go ahead. Peter, go ahead.
I thought that Balance of Terror worked a little bit better, in my opinion, but that's my opinion. Partially because with this one, I could tell when the dialogue was lifted from Balance of Terror because characters' diction changed, which was odd for me. I could tell when Spock was speaking as 1960 Spock, and then all of a sudden he shifts to 2022 Spock. The really weird thing for me was how they shoehorned Styles into Ortegas, because Ortegas is very, very different.
That I will 100% agree with you, because it was very uncharacteristic. You took Ortegas
she was
to a spot.
She was just spunky and happy and kind of whatever, and then she's super grumpy. And
racist, racist towards Spock.
And the thing is, war hasn't happened yet, so there's not really a reason for that to happen, necessarily.
Well,
So,
and I know in Styles in the episode said, well, there were a lot of members of my family in the Romulan War, and that's why from 100 years ago, I'm still super pissed off. It's like, yeah, okay, there's definitely people like that. I mean, sure, we got people like that.
Yeah, but it was just an odd choice to make that.
Yeah, I mean, Styles' version of it was giving me very like Southern pride kind of like feels of it, and I mean, I didn't think it was too out of place for Ortega because she does have a tendency to be aggressive. She has a tendency to be very,
that's also true.
Very bold and very blunt with how she speaks. And so like when she was coming out, it felt like a much more grounded version of racism where it was done out of ignorance and out of fear versus out of, well, my ancestors died 100 years ago, so I'm just going to call Spock those people.
I mean, that's still ignorance and fear.
Oh, it is, but it's a much more characterized version of it where you don't, when you're looking at it going, well, I don't speak like that, so I can't be racist. When you have someone like Ortega who's still being racist, who's just doing it through microaggressions, so it doesn't seem as bad. So
it's not as in your face as Styles.
So I was like, you know what? No, that kind of made sense for me for her character because she is very blunt in a lot of ways and very aggressive.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Let's do it quick and we'll roll up on out of here. Season 1, 10 episodes. Let's go with a favorite. Let's go with the least favorite. And then we'll go with a hope for season 2. So we'll go round robin per bit. Peter, favorite episode of the season?
Episode 6.
Episode 6.
I forget the name.
Lift us up. My friend cannot reach. You got it.
Yeah. So the one with the kid. And, and that society. I thought that was an exceptionally well done Trek style story with that conundrum and how they handled it. I thought that was really well done.
Gotcha. All right, Katie.
As far as my favorites go, that is a hard question. I think the Elysian Kingdom might hold a good spot in my heart. 8, even though I didn't love how they ended it with Mbinga's daughter, just watching the characters and the actors have so much fun with the changes in their personas was really, really enjoyable for me.
Awesome. Good deal. I might go with the Serene Squall myself because Captain Angel put things on the map. My favorite Star Trek villain, I think we've seen since maybe Gul Dukat. You know what I mean? Somebody who's really delivering, and something that I think is going to pay off in spades as the series goes on.
That was definitely my second favorite.
I hear ya. All right, low point, Peter. I know you've had a few, so it's okay.
Probably All Those Who Wander.
Oh, okay.
I didn't. Just as a package deal, I didn't like it.
You didn't see how it just really stacked up.
Well, part of it was because of Hemmer. Part of it was because of the aliens. Just too many parallels, and the other thing, and also because they just monsterfied the Gorn in a way that I didn't think worked. It didn't work for me.
I mean, you know what? That's a fair way to say it. No, I totally understand. Katie, what was your dud for season 1?
I gotta say, episode 6, Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach.
Oh my God, you guys are the perfect point and counterpoint. I'm the guy holding up the net in the game of Pong here. There it is.
I watched and I was like, oh, it's the trolley problem. Okay. It's just the trolley problem. And they didn't ever really give any specifics as far as like how often do these kids have to, like, is this a once a week thing? Is this a once a year thing? Is this a once a generation thing? Like, how often are they having to kill these kids? God. And also there was the entire, like, they never dove into a lot about that second colony besides like they were offshoots of them, but they were trying to save the kid, but there was never any real closure. I felt where I thought they could have gone into that a little bit more.
I agree.
Because the rest of them were just like, fuck them kids.
Yeah.
That's basically the whole deal.
It was a little bit more nuanced.
Yes.
I mean, I did love the culture built around sacrifice, and I did think that fit really well into the themes of the season. So I would say that is a low point out of a lot of very high points. That's like picking an episode where I rate all of them a 7 or above. So
right.
I would definitely, like, I have already watched it again. I still think it's a very engaging episode.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. I'm going to go with episode 2, Children of the Comet. I get really tired of the space anomaly bit. And that just kind of wore me out. And again, with Uhura, it was, I don't know if I should be here. And then it kind of reminded me of, Peter, you'll appreciate this, the second episode of Enterprise was the same thing with Hoshi Sato, even though it was a lot worse. She's like, I get space sick and I get and I don't want to be here. Uhura wasn't quite that whiny, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
But it was still like, I went on this assignment and I hummed a tune and it made the comet change its course or whatever. And now I think I belong here. That just didn't really do it for me. I don't know. But again, overall for the season, I don't know that I would say there was I was like, oh my God, I hate it so much, I'll never watch it again. But in my rewatch, I ran out of time because I wanted to watch the whole season. This was the one I stopped in the middle of it. And then when I started it again, it restarted again. And I'm like, I don't want to watch this one again. So maybe that's what made me pick it. So, all right. So hope for season 2. One or two things that you're like, I really want to see this happen. Peter.
I just hope we get more character dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
Flesh out Ortegas a bit more.
Right.
Get a good engineer, not another character that you're just gonna chuck.
Right.
Let's not do season 1 TNG where we have new engineer every week.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, and I hope it's not Scotty because that would be a.
Oh yeah, they already said that it won't be, but I kind of hope that they don't.
Right.
Also, honestly, I don't want to see that much of Kirk.
Yeah, I agree.
I love James Kirk
over the top. Yeah,
I don't really want them to.
Well, and canonically, those two never met, correct?
They're
Kirk and Spock. There's
Kirk and Pike.
Kirk and Pike.
Kirk and Pike did not meet. No.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, if
We
they're
knew
going
of
to,
him, but they didn't meet.
right, and so I imagine if they're going to have him in, they're going to be doing parallels rather than at least. I mean, and I'm hoping
the only thing that they could do is trying to have him know Spock, but the canon with that is really screwy. Did they know each other in the academy? Where did they meet?
Right.
I think that leaving them knowing each other at the academy so you don't have to do that would be better. But
True. All right, Katie. Big hope.
You need to bring my girl back, Una, immediately. Mutiny. They took my girl Una. I'm really more Angel, more Gorn, and yeah, hopefully, I enjoyed the version. I enjoyed the actor for Kirk. I thought they made him weirdly aggressive.
He was much more aggressive than Shatner.
Yeah, he was much more aggressive in Balance or in this episode versus Balance of Terror. So I'm
recasting, right?
Yeah, I'm wanting to see how they kind of play and develop him. But yeah, I'm really and I hope that Lon comes back soon because I really, really enjoy her and I want to see more of her.
I hear you. I will go with something that I don't want to see that was actually pursuant to one of the news stories that we were going to talk about, but I thought this would be a better conversation. I don't want to see any Klingons. I am Klingoned out.
Yes.
Katie and I talked about our mutual disdain for the first season of Discovery because they kind of beat the Klingons into the ground. They did weird things with them that I didn't like.
There were some very weird choices.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the fact that they took their makeup and did it in just a really bizarro direction. It was just let it go.
They changed the culture a bit too much too, which was just
exactly.
Weird. Yeah,
they did. With the sleeper ship and the ship.
One of the most fleshed out cultures in Star Trek. So it's just weird.
Throughout DS9 in particular, and then B'Elanna Torres and Voyager, and her struggles with. So yeah. So I'm going to say I would love it to stay Klingon free, but I know it won't. So I hope that it is minimalized. That's my big finger crossed. So, okay, season 1 of Strange New Worlds. That's a wrap. Katie, that's a wrap. We don't have a date for Lower Decks, so you're going to be, it's going to be a bit until you're back, but I hope that you'll consider coming back in this format because this is great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When Lower Decks comes on, I will be here.
Nice.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Lower
decks. All right, listeners, you're going to hear me hit the pause button while Katie goes away, and then Peter and I are back for Enterprise-orama. So, Katie, where do people find you?
You can find me on Twitter on QT Geek. That is Q_T Geek, and you can find me on Instagram at Quintessential.
All right, cool. We will see you soon, my friend. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
I'm fired up for it, but in the meantime, we're going to talk about a little program that we've been talking about for a couple of episodes now. That would be Star Trek Enterprise. This is segment 3. So we're deep into 2002, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, early
2003.
2003. And we are, we're getting into some, what I think is a much more decent crop of episodes. So, Peter, kick us off.
So the first episode we're doing is Stigma, directed by David Livingston, written by Rick Berman and Brandon Braga, aired February 5th, 2003. Sub-Commander T'Pol learns that she has Panar syndrome, contracted from her mind meld in a previous episode, Fusion, and faces being ostracized by Vulcan society, particularly for medical needs.
Exactly. Wow. Talk about on the nose. What's so weird is this episode, Fusion, I'm like, shit, did we talk about this already?
No,
like during this? Yeah, I really had to dig to find out, which is, a statement, at least for me, that it's, there are a lot of these episodes that just don't like, oh man, that was the best episode of season blank. I just couldn't figure it out. But yeah, in that episode, she was mentally assaulted, akin to an assault of any kind, really. Mm-hmm. And then, so they're at this conference and, just in her regular medical treatment, Phlox has figured out that she's got something going on. And he's like, well, there's Vulcan doctors here. She's like, I can't talk about it because it'll be stigmatized and I'll lose my job or be in prison and whatever it is. And just, holy shit, what a commentary on what's going on. Not only obviously with the struggle of all people with stigmatized conditions, and we don't need to dig too deep into it, but people with HIV, AIDS, really the LGBT community at large, and which is
what this episode was an allegory for, pretty clearly.
Absolutely, very clearly, and everything going on. So I thought this was an exceptional episode. And again, yes, it was her fight against ignorance. She was so reticent to even open herself up to it because she clearly didn't think that there was any way that they were going to help her, and she would rather suffer in silence and die rather than. And then Archer is just James says, when one of my officers, one of my friends is suffering, is going to die because of your ignorance and your fear, jerk ass Vulcans, who he clearly is not super crazy about anyway.
He hasn't been crazy about them since episode 1.
So. Well, most humans aren't at this point. But God, this was definitely one of the high points of what we've been talking about here. So I absolutely love it.
It's a good episode. One thing that I do like about this episode is it doesn't, while it's very, very clear on what it believes is the right thing to do, which is, treat people like people. They're human beings, or in this case, Vulcans are Vulcans, and they need to treat each other with equal dignity and, take care of each other, even if you don't agree with what they're doing. Right. But like one of the things I was reading some of the behind the scenes stuff, and like, I think it was Brandon Braga came out and says, like, the point of this episode is we're not trying to give people answers. We just want you to think.
Right.
And that's something that I think Star Trek, it needs to do more. And it needs and it's better when it does that. Like Strange New Worlds has been doing this better. Discovery has mostly been like a swing and a miss on that particular brand of writing.
Right. Exactly.
So this is just a good episode with that on a sensitive topic, especially at the time, and just helping people think about it. So
Correctamundo. So, okay, moving on. Episode 15 of the season is Ceasefire. We have writer. Are we director? Blah, blah, blah. Hello, I can talk. David Straighten, seen his name before, but I don't think we see it since. Chris Black was the writer. Never heard of that guy. February 12 of 2003. Captain Archer negotiates a ceasefire between the Andorians and the Vulcans. I love it. We also got actress Susie Plaxton back, who played Kalar, who was Worf's, the mother of Worf's child, his first love. Mm-hmm. She was also Lady Q, just Q.
And Dr. Solar.
And Dr. Solar also in TNG, but Lady Q was in Voyager. So so she's Star Trek royalty and just a awesome lady. Love seeing her in anything, but she plays a rather duplicitous right hand to Commander Shran, who is Jeffrey Combs returning. One of our, he's Star Trek royalty. And there was some talk of, working him, and people like, I really want to see him be Dr. Boyce in Strange New Worlds, and that didn't come to pass. Not that I don't,
which is unfortunate because that would have been cool.
I totally agree. And who knows? There's nothing to say that he's not going to be back in some other role. But anyway, I thought this was great. I love how this series is portrayed in this now season and a half, a little over season and a half, just how much the founding worlds of the Federation really didn't get along at all. The humans kind of were like, kind of rolled their eyes at the Vulcan because the Vulcans treated the humans like crap. The Vulcans and the Andorians had a Cold War / open war scenario. We haven't met the Tellarites yet, but the Tellarites are extremely obnoxious. We're going to get more of
just
that
like
in
they are
season
in TOS.
Just like they are in TOS, yes, exactly. But it's more fleshed out here, and then we find that it's a common cause that really gets the ball rolling, to the Federation. And this is not a terrible example of that because you've got Saval, who's actor Matt something or other. I'm drawing a blank.
Can't remember either right now.
But anyway, he's an established character in the series who we still continue to see more of. But I think this is great. I think this really moves the ball forward again in understanding that process of how things got from in a very short period of time. Because again, Enterprise as a series, if we pretend that the last episode really happened, is over the span of 10 years. And 4 of those years, which we did not see in the series, were essentially the Romulan War. So we basically, in the 4 seasons, the 4 years of the show, there's a lot of stuff that happens once the Enterprise starts to get out there. Earth Starfleet starts to get out there and meet other species, and how it's Earth that gets all these warring species to start to figure out that they have common goals and gives birth to the Federation in that episode that we won't name. So great. No, it was a good one. It was definitely
Ceasefire is great. I basically like any of the episodes with the Andorians in it.
Yeah,
the Andorians are really, really well done in Enterprise.
Totally. We got to get you some blue paint and some antennae, and maybe your red shirt can be an Andorian. I have to see what we can do. You got the hair. Your hair's a little longer. I think the Andorians.
Yeah, it needs to be cut right now, but yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Good deal. All right. Episode 16. This one's yours.
Future Tense, directed by James Whitmore Jr., written by Mike Sussman and Phyllis Strong, aired February 19, 2003. Enterprise finds a derelict ship, which is bigger on the inside, only to be attacked by both Suliban and Tholian ships.
And shame on me rewatching this. Maybe I think I watched this one in a hotel room, because usually when I travel for work, I have a travel Roku and I'll plug it into the back of the TV. And I find myself watching these episodes so that I can be caught up, and ready to do these recaps. I remember this one was really not very memorable to me. I don't remember much about the ship. I don't remember why the Suliban.
Well, there's not much to remember about the ship.
Right. Well, good.
Trash can.
I'm glad it's not me, because, again, this is our first taste of the Tholians, who, again, it's kind of like the Romulans and the Ferengi and the Borg in the series, that we see them, but they don't say their name, so we didn't really see them. It's kind of it's the this versus the this, I can see, but I can't hear. Which just doesn't work. And obviously, you can see from a writer standpoint how they're trying to incorporate more elements that are familiar to the fans. But again, the fans are already watching the show. So I think I think potentially the focus should have been more getting people who aren't fans to be interested in the show by great storytelling of other kinds. So where do you sit with the Suliban as a villain? Do you like them? Do you think they're dumb?
The Suliban, I kind of sit with the Suliban as kind of being this like mediocre villain. Like, they're not awful, but they're not great, because a lot of it has to tie into the temporal Cold War, and so they're not really they're not really agents in their own right.
Right.
And so they don't work as well for me. Like, Silicon is an interesting character, but like they don't have a whole lot of threat. Like, the Xindi, way more interesting.
Well, I mean,
threat, so.
The way that they come on strong, which we'll talk about how that gets all rolled out at the end of our next episode.
But like, this episode is hilarious because you have the very, very clear Doctor Who reference throughout the entire thing. Because like, they step down and it's like, it's round and the center console and everything. Like, for me, that was just really funny.
Yeah, a little on the nose. Yeah, no, I gotcha.
So
I gotcha. Well, cool. All right. Well, moving on, we had, boy, was this one forgettable. Canamar, episode 17, directed by Alan Croker, written by John Shiban. Don't know the name. February 26th of 2003. Mistaken as smugglers, Archer and Tucker find themselves on a prison transport ship. Again, no stakes 101. They're not going to get killed. It's the only familiar species you see is a Nausicaan, which it's weird how Nausicans in their first appearance, which was in, I think, season 6 of TNG and Picard's Tapestry flashback, that they speak English at basically a pig Latin level, and in this they're like, yeah, blah blah blah, and nobody's wearing UT's Universal Translator, so they wouldn't necessarily understand him anyway. So it's weird, and it's not the first time that we've seen the Nausicans in the series, because they showed up very early on. And it had to do with Earth Cargo Authority, and Lawrence Monson, who's a child actor, was the main character in that. You know the one I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just super forgettable. I found it, maybe I was paying better attention than I was at the last one, but I kind of found it to be kind of two forgotten episodes in a row, because this just didn't really go anywhere. I didn't really feel like they were in any danger. You knew it was all going to work out. And then there wasn't going to be anything from this episode that was going to be a great character moment for either one of our characters, or a lesson learned, or something that would carry forward. So it's just like,
Yeah, this episode wasn't really all that. Like, it had a few funny moments. It had some interesting stuff with the leader, but other than that, it's like, here's Tucker sitting next to a really chatty dingus.
Right. Chatty Dingus. There you go. That could be a new name of the episode. What do you think? Yeah. Chatty Dingus. All right. Chatty Dingus wins.
Yeah, it just wasn't a good episode. Like, it was interesting, like, oh no, we arrested them on accident. It's like, well, you guys are stupid. Like, it wasn't all that interesting. Right. It's not a terrible episode, but it's not great.
Right. Oh my goodness. All right. What's next?
All right. The Crossing. Directed by David Livingston, teleplay by Rick Berman and Brandon Braga. Story also by Rick Berman, Brandon Braga, and Andre Bormanis, who actually wrote
he was TNG staff writing.
He did that, and interestingly enough, Brandon Braga and Andre Bormanis were the ones who wrote an Orville episode recently, the Gently Falling Rain one with the crew.
Well, I wouldn't know anything. I tell you, the Orville. I watched that show. Quick sidebar: its first couple of years when it was on Fox, and enjoyed it, but came back after a hiatus of, God, what has it been? 2.5 years,
like
3 years?
A year or 2 years, yeah.
And I was just that first. It was like a fart in church for me. I was just April and I looked at each other. I said, well, I don't even think we need to watch the second part of the 2 episodes that came out. So are you
liked it? Because
are you keeping up with that? Maybe I'll go back.
Yeah, I liked it because at least with the first one, I know this is a complete sidebar, but like the first episode felt like a TNG episode touching on like a very sensitive topic. So like, and they mostly dealt with it in a mostly okay way.
Do a couple of mostlies make an okay? I don't know. Is that like 3 rights make a left? I have no idea.
Like, it's not that bad. Like, I thought it was pretty well done, but that's...
Oh my God. All right. Back to track. Keep talking.
Yeah. So anyway, incorporeal aliens attempt to take over Enterprise. Very short description. That's really all that happens. They basically, Enterprise gets like sucked into this big ship, and then these incorporeal aliens just start like exchanging consciousness with folks to try to like experience corporeal existence.
Right.
And it gets a little wonky. Because like you have points where like people don't know, and then they're being replaced, and it was like like it's not bad, but it was just for me. This was one of those episodes like. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, you did a thing. Thanks for doing that thing. It was great. It was, versus, there's a TNG episode in season 5, I think, Power Play, where they found a world of malevolent little glowy dots that took over Troy O'Brien and Data and tried to take over the Enterprise. And what they really wanted to do was free the other glowy dots on the planet, because the other glowy dots on the planet was a prison planet. Where this was not that, but.
I mean, this was nice. It wasn't like, oh no, it's the malicious guys taking over the bodies again. So it was like, that was nice. It was a slightly different twist, but
But again, I watched the episode, but in some ways I was like, oh God, this is boring. I kind of tuned out and I was doing something else. But what was the end game for the non-corporeal beings? What did they really want to do? Did they all wanted to take over all 83 bodies and be like, now we're going to take off into the galaxy on this technologically inferior ship and go be a part of their world?
Kind of what their goal was just to like take it over, and then so that they had basically, it was like so they could have a corporeal playground That's what
Right.
that's what it felt like. It's like we want to be able to have physical existence, just go out and see shit and test things out,
Right.
and then that's it.
And
we'll
then,
just
exactly.
team it. It's like,
so it's like, even for the protagonists of the story, they didn't really have, there were no stakes for them and there was no goal for them. They weren't even really trying to do anything, which is obnoxious, which is kind of, so I just kind of throw it out. So anyway, moving on to what I think was a great episode of the season. Episode 19 is Judgment, directed by James L. Conway, a stalwart of the franchise. Teleplay by David A. Goodman. Don't know the name.
He's been in he's done a bunch of ones.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's done a bunch of Enterprise, or he's just
other like Enterprise and a bunch of other things.
Oh, you say the name just does not jump out at me. From April of 2003, Captain Archer. Oh, excuse me. It continues on the next page. Story by Taylor Ed Elmore and David A. Goodman. Okay, well, I don't know who Taylor Elmore is either. Sorry, guys. Captain Archer is arrested in prison by Klingons for currently allegedly conspiring against the Empire. Great episode. And it was told kind of in that fashion that took me back to the remember the Voyager episode, I think it was season 4, Living Witness, where there was this society 700-800 years in the future. They discovered some stolen artifacts from Voyager, who had visited their planet all that time ago, and they reconstructed this history where Voyager was a warship and everybody was ruthless, and they killed the prime minister.
Episode,
there was that. I remember really loving that episode at the time, but this was, completely unbelievable. It was very much a slant. It was kind of the Fox News of the Klingon Empire. You know what I mean? Like, oh, these guys came along and they disgraced us and they did this thing and that thing.
I mean, it was Duras. What do you expect?
Yeah, exactly. So, and your main villain was Duras. So he was did you notice he was Duras, son of Taral, when our Duras in our time had an illegitimate child that he named Dural? I think Taral with a T, not a D.
Yeah.
Anyway, I caught that when I was watching it. I'm sure I caught it back then as well. But yeah, you get a very skewed story of how there were some escaping colonists, and obviously, the Klingons' MO, and we saw it even earlier in the season, was they go about from place to place. They come up to places and say, we're going to help you out with supplies and stuff, but you're going to pay us tribute to our empire, and you'll be part of our empire. We'll protect you, blah blah. And they take what they want and they break out. And they, in which case they did with this colony of random aliens, that they came along, they took a bunch of shit. These people were starving. They managed to get along in space enough to find Enterprise. And so Enterprise was providing them aid. And that's when the Klingons come back.
Yeah.
And Archer stood up against them and he got snagged. And so he's put through the Klingon kangaroo court, almost bit for bit what we see in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, that Kirk and McCoy go through. That was 10 or so years before this, but they managed to recreate the sets pretty faithfully, I think.
It was much smaller. It was definitely not the high court, but yeah.
Right. It wasn't it wasn't really a high crime.
No,
because the high crime, this was like appellate court, Klingon appellate court. There you go.
Yeah, it was.
Ooh, that could be a Klingon Circuit Court. I think that's a more fun name for this episode.
Yeah,
Klingon Circuit Court. Give me a second, Clint. So anyway, so what did you think?
I quite like this episode. I like the back and forth where they're telling different versions of the story. I always like seeing J.G. Hertzler back as a Klingon. Doesn't matter what he's playing.
No doubt.
And also for me, I like those little consistency things where like the ball hammer thing. Like I like seeing Klingon culture just kind of there's some things that are going to evolve, but there's some things that are sticking the same because it's just an older thing.
Right.
And so I like that, and I liked how like Phlox came down and was like telling him all this stuff about, what the ship is doing because it's a doctor's visit.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then how he has to eat the gnarly, Klingon
foot, yeah.
Yeah, Targ foot, which has got bugs on it, shit, and he's like, well, I got to do what I got to do.
It's got protein, Captain.
Yes,
Thanks,
yes. Yeah, really. Crunchy. But I looked at the end of it, he ends up on Rurapente.
And then they both end up in Rurapente, yeah.
I love it. And then, of course, and we had budget Rurapente, which was like a piece of an ice cave. And, obviously there's only so much they could do on a TV budget. I'm glad they didn't let's reuse footage and make it, look like Kirk was Archer or whatever. And so, they put their own spin on it. In the end, Archer obviously gets rescued. But J.G. Hertzler had fought the judge's ruling, who was like, well, we're not going to kill you, but we're going to imprison you forever. So good luck. And then JG was like, bah, 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 and he's like,
that amounts to the same thing.
Yeah. And then they send JG off as well for a year's time. And then usually an estimate of a life expectancy of a prisoner on Rura Penthe is about a year. So we don't really think anything good happened to JG. So, oh well, sorry. But good for you for standing up for what you believe in.
Yes,
big thumbs up.
There are honorable Klingons. They're not all just Duras.
Yes. And this guy died, but he died. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer. Yeah. All right. So episode 20, ending our run. Peter, go ahead.
Episode 20, Horizon, directed by James A. Countner, written by Andre Bormanis, aired April 16, 2003. After the death of his father, poor Ensign Travis Mayweather visits his family on their cargo ship and begins to reconsider his place aboard Enterprise.
Aww, Travis. Yeah, and it was, this was, one of the 4 episodes where he got characterization, the poor guy. I mean, I like the Earth Cargo Service stuff because it really gives you a vibe between, now and essentially 130-ish years from now, which is where Enterprise is supposed to take place, after we unfortunately have World War III. Sorry, that's going to be a bummer, but it's coming. Or at least it was for them. Hopefully it's not coming for us. Kind of what it was really like when mankind reached out to the stars, and they, because obviously after they met the Vulcans, then they started to have ships where they could travel off the planet. And so they needed, supply lines. And that's where the Earth Cargo Service was born. And Travis is, the thing that's really central to his character is that he's a space boomer, born in space, lived in space his whole life, and never set foot on Earth until he went to Starfleet Academy. But yeah, within this, I mean, his dad had passed away, but he missed a message that it was 6 weeks ago, but Enterprise was passing by and he had the occasion to pop in. And his brother, I couldn't remember if it was his older brother or his younger brother, who's the character.
His older brother.
This is his older brother, who's, kind of a grump. And Peter, do you have a brother? I have a brother.
I have 4.
You have 4. Jeez, Mary. Brothers can be kind of, because they're men and men fight. Men are a pain in the ass in general. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit of it can be. It's it's a little bit of a, my little brother ran off to Starfleet and you should have been here because really you could clearly tell that their father kind of preferred Travis. And while he was bummed out that his son left, he knew that his son had to follow his dream. And this was circling back. So he comes back, he sees some of his old friends on the ship. He has a platonic female friend because Travis is never going to have a romance. He's Geordi. He's Geordi, though they do throw him a bone at the end of the series with that reporter chick. And that's a weird thing we'll talk about on down the road. But you get kind of a standard story where there's pirates that are trying to steal their stuff, and Travis wants to help, but the brother wants to swing his rod and be the big shot. And, in the end of it, Travis is able to help them out. And there ends up being, a little bit of understanding between the brothers and stuff. So I liked it. I like family. Yeah. I like when Star Trek jumps in with a little bit of the family strife and, not everybody's perfect, Riker and his dad, Troy and her mom, family drama, because we all deal with it, right? So it makes it that much more.
Worf and his parents.
Worf and his brother. Worf and all Klingons.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That, I think the Bashirs were like perhaps the one example of a family that didn't have like super major problems. Like they had like the problem of, lying to Starfleet and all of that.
Right.
But they didn't have like quote unquote familial dysfunction in a major way.
They didn't speak to each other. Well, Bashir wouldn't speak to his parents because
I'm misremembering the episode then. So yeah, I for me it would be nice if there was one family dynamic that wasn't weird, because it's for me it's to the point of like with some of like the Discovery episodes, I still ask the same question with some of the plot points that they do. Like, who hurt you? Like,
right?
Like,
why are you so
especially like there's a lot of stuff in like modern media in general where it's like families are broken. Like that's one thing that I appreciate about Ms. Marvel is it's not that way.
Right, very true. Yeah, I mean, there are discord, but they're together.
They fight because families fight,
right? But in the end of it, they're pulling together.
Yeah, they still love each other, and they'll stick with each other, and you see that in Horizon in the end,
right?
But they're like relearning that,
right. Which is, that's a journey that a lot of people go through.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, I would appreciate to see a little bit more of, just like, hey, let's have someone go home and their family's like nice. Right. Not like Picard going home and, why'd you come here, you dumbass?
Oh, God, that's the best example. His brother who used to talk to him 20 years and they get in a fist fight, or Riker and his dad, or Riker meets his transporter clone and they can't get along. And there's a great, my favorite exchange in that episode is you have, and they did a lot of this later in TNG, but Worf and Data are talking, and Data observes the Will and Tom Riker not getting along. And he's like, Lieutenant, if you met a duplicate of yourself, would you find him hard to get along with? I think so. Why? I am not easy to get along with. And Data goes,
Yeah.
That was, it's like, yeah. Total sidebar.
Humor is great.
Yeah, and I love the relationship with those two. But anyway, okay, so that wraps up this segment 3. How do you think we fared versus the previous segment? I think it was a slam dunk, head and shoulders. Yeah, maybe we had like two duds, and the rest were stars. I thought, or they were.
And they weren't even
anyway.
like duds. They were just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, it's like it's not bad, but it's nothing. So
yeah, it wasn't like sitting there going, "Oh, please don't make me watch this again."
Oh yeah, headed into the next episode, we don't have a new program to talk about, so it's just going to be you and me. So it could be a shorter episode, but I think we'll work some new.
Maybe we'll hear more about Resurgence, the video game, and we can talk about that. I don't know.
Yes. Hopefully we'll get some news going. So anyway, thanks for sitting in. Peter, go ahead and take us out, please.
All right. For more information about Starfleet International, please visit Grant Petoskey on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Twitter. Friends, thanks for joining us. You can find me on Twitter at the C3. April and I obviously, my wife April and I obviously run the USS Grant Petoskey fan club here in West Michigan, of which Peter is one of our senior officers. Peter, where do people find you on social media?
All right, you can find me at Petrus Aquinas on most social media platforms.
Oh, yeah.
I don't post much on there.
I know. I keep tagging you more, so maybe you'll do more. We'll see what happens. All right, friends, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you, as always, that sharing is caring, and to keep on trekking.
Peace and long life.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.